Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evo AZ at eXp Realty in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Welcome to our show, Real Estate Fitness, where we keep your real estate muscle strong by sharing tips and tricks to help you navigate the real estate world. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, we are back again. It is Katie and Dana with Team Evo AZ at eXp Realty, coming back with another episode of Real Estate Fitness, where we keep that real estate muscle strong, don't we, Dana?
We sure do, girl.
It's important to keep all your muscles strong, isn't it?
It's funny. We were just talking about this the other day, and it's very important, you guys. I often feel you are a better human. It's not even about being stronger. It's about being a better human,
Absolutely. And real estate is also included because, what's the, and this is a statistic I think probably everybody knows, but what are the top 3 most stressful things, that anybody can deal with, statistically?
Money.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, but like life events is what I meant.
Life events. Kids, moving, buying a house.
Exactly. So kids, moving, buying a house, real estate, right? And then divorce.
Oh yeah.
Top 3 right there. So we're in the top 3 and we're constantly talking with buyers and sellers and dealing with their very, very normal anxieties, right? And, a lot of times people will come to us, we're really focused on educating our buyers and sellers, but a lot of times people will come to us and they don't know things. They're not really clear on the process. Maybe they've never done it before. Maybe it's been a really long time since they've done it. Maybe they purchased and sold in a different state and now they're here in Arizona and things are so much different. So we wanted to talk today, again, flexing that real estate muscle, guys. We want you to keep it strong. We wanted to talk today about the 3 contingencies that appear in the Arizona purchase contract. Now, I always tell my buyers that the Arizona purchase contract is kind of built to protect buyers. I mean, more so than sellers. Sorry, sellers out there, but it just is what it is. And these 3 contingencies, or I like to explain them as buyer safety nets, right? Mm-hmm. And that just makes, every time I tell a buyer that and we're having our consultation and we're talking and I'm sort of educating them on how things are going to go, they're like, oh, okay.
The sigh of just relief, right? Because it is so different in so many other states. So yeah, they're like, wow.
It's true. It's true. And it's really important for buyers to know that, not only to know when there are certain points of the contract that they can, if they feel uncomfortable with the results, based upon whatever section of the contract we're in, they can get out of it at no penalty. They can get their earnest deposit back. Sometimes it's a significant amount of money. We're talking several $1,000s here that can be on the table. And so it's important for our buyers to know what these safety nets or contingencies in our contract are. And then it's also important for our sellers to know that too, because there have been times when, a contract has canceled because of an inspection result or whatnot. And the seller has said to me, well, don't we get to keep their earnest money? No, I'm sorry, you don't, because they didn't breach the contract. So it's really, really important for both sides to know what a breach of the contract is. So let's dive into these 3 contingencies, or safety nets, like I like to call them. The first one is the inspection contingency. In the Arizona purchase contract right now, if you're listening to this, it is October 13th of 2022. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes our contracts will get updated and things will change, right? But right now in our purchase contract, it's typically a 10-day inspection period. There is a little field in there that you can change, that you can say, hey, you know what, I'll just do 8 days, or maybe I need more than 10 days for whatever reason. So that is up for negotiation, but it's typically a 10-day inspection period. And that's when you're getting all of your research done. So you're going to want to make sure that you get a hold of that buyer advisory first and foremost. Go through that because it's a really great guide, and we can put a link to that in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And this is where you're going to be researching the area. You want to make sure that, every place has crime. So I'm not going to tell you that there's a place where you're going to go where it's going to be, all rainbows and butterflies, because it's just not true. But you're going to want to research things like crime statistics and make sure that you're comfortable with what you're seeing. You're going to want to research like I said, the area around. Make sure it's close enough to the schools that you go to or want to go to. Make sure that, the driving distance isn't too much for you, that kind of thing. Like really get a feel for what's going on. Visit the property morning, noon, and night. You really should go sit in front of it or sit in the neighborhood, sit outside of the neighborhood, all these different areas a couple of times during this inspection period at different times of the day and night. So that way you can see what's going on. Would you agree? Is that the advice that you usually give your buyers, Dana?
Always. It is so critical. These first 10 days are absolutely the most important when you're starting this process.
Yeah, you're doing your due diligence during this period. And so you're going to want to get something that we always advise as a general inspector. So this guy is going to come in, he's going to check all the systems of the house, going to check the roof, the AC, make sure that the faucets aren't leaking, the water heater's not going to blow up, that kind of stuff. And he's going to give you some information on that. This is the time when you're also needing to get an inspection for your termites. Like, it's a funny thing out there, a funny saying out there that, there's two types of houses in Arizona, one that will have termites and one that's already got them, basically.
Exactly.
So it's a thing. We have subterranean termites, which means they come up through the ground. So you're going to see them, you see kind of like the little mud tubes. You might see them in your garage. Oftentimes I'll see it at a house in the garage is where it's easiest to spot. And they're going after that paper in the drywall, right? So we're going to want to make sure that we get our inspection for termites. There may also be some other inspections that you want to get. Maybe you want to get your, maybe it's an older home and you want to get the sewer pipes scoped. That's always a good idea, especially on the older homes, to get that done. Make sure there's not a bunch of root intrusion. Make sure you don't have crumbling pipes, that kind of thing. Depending, usually the advice that we give, depending on what's going on, what the general inspector says, what's going on with your roof, your AC, your pool, we may also bring in some different specialists for that. So we may bring in somebody specific for the AC to take a look at that and make sure that that's not going to crap out on you on, day one of moving, because wouldn't that be the worst?
Yes.
Make sure that your pool, the integrity of your pool is up to par. Make sure that your pool equipment is running well, or if not, at least you know what the diagnosis is, so you know what to ask for in the inspection period, right? Roof, same thing. So there are a few other inspections depending on your particular scenario that we will advise, but the purpose of this contingency is so that you can do all of this legwork. You can find out everything that there is to know about this property. You can decide if you want it or not.
100%.
Right? And so sometimes we've had that happen where it's come up and a buyer's like, you know what, bro? Like, I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. It's too much money. I don't even care. I don't even want to ask the seller, or, there's a level 3 sex offender lives next door, or whatever it is. They have that opportunity to cancel the sale and get their money back, get their earnest deposit back like it never even happened. So that is safety net contingency number 1. Anything to add on that one? That's a big one.
That's a huge one. No,
Yeah.
I think you covered it.
That's like the most important contingency.
It is.
Yes.
So.
And then the next safety net, or again, contingency is what we call it in the real estate world, is the appraisal contingency. So that basically means that when an appraiser comes in, most of the time you're going to have that when you have a mortgage, right? Or you're getting a mortgage. There was a time, back in the last couple of years where if you were putting enough money down, the mortgage company, things were swiftly moving in the upward direction. I mean, it was just so fast that the mortgage companies were like, hey, we know it's going to be worth more tomorrow, next week, and the week after that. So we really don't care. Like, you're putting enough money down. We don't feel like it's a liability. We're not going to send an appraiser out. But 9 times out of 10, you're getting a mortgage, you're probably going to get an appraisal as well, which is nice because it saves the buyer from paying too much for the home, right?
Exactly.
So not only is it protecting this third-party bank, this investor, right? But it's also protecting you as the buyer as well, because nobody wants to pay too much for too little, basically.
No, absolutely
no one.
not.
Like, I don't know anyone. Do you know anyone? Oh, sure, I'll pay too much. No problem.
I'll pay 50 grand more. No big deal.
No big deal. So if the appraisal comes back and it is lower than the agreed upon purchase price, then as the buyer, you have the opportunity to either renegotiate with the seller if they're willing to do that. You have the opportunity to come out of pocket and pay the difference if you want to. You can choose to do that too. Or your third choice is that you can cancel the sale and get your earnest deposit back at that point in time.
Yep.
We've had them. It happens.
It does happen. And again, this is why we have these, contingencies in place for buyers.
Exactly. And again, sellers, I'm so sorry. I have, even with all the education that we give, sometimes a seller will say, well, a deal is a deal. Like they signed on the dotted line and they said they were going to pay X amount for my house. And I don't care if it doesn't appraise. Well, everybody else cares. So, sorry guys.
Sorry.
The third contingency, or safety net, like I like to call it, is the financing contingency. So, knock on wood, this doesn't happen to people, but what happens when you're under contract and all of a sudden you lose your job? Ooh, ouch. And that income is not coming in anymore. Or please don't do this, you guys, because, oh my God, if you're my buyer and you do this, we're going to be having a talk. And it's going to be like in my mom voice, and you're not going to like it. But you don't go out and buy furniture. You don't go out and you buy a new car. You don't go out and buy a new anything, with the exception of like your bare minimum needs while you are under contract, because you go through final underwriting right before you're about to close. If your credit score drops, or if your debt to income drops below the guideline, you're done.
You'll be returning. No loan for you. No
yeah,
house
it's
for
like
you.
the soup Nazi and what's that? Seinfeld. No soup for you. Okay, there's gonna be
no
no
house
soup
for you.
Yeah, no house for you, and that's
And
kind of a
true.
bummer. But it has happened, and that is an opportunity for you to cancel the sale if that's what needs to happen, and then you get your earnest deposit back. So those are the three contingencies. However, something that we often overlook, or shall I say our competitors, because we don't overlook anything at Team Evo AZ, but often what our competitors will overlook and they won't advise their clients about is when the title work comes back, there's also a grace period to that title work. So you can reject that title work and reject the home at that point too. The SPUDs, which is the seller property disclosure statement that the seller fills out, if you get that and it's outside of your inspection period and your inspection period's already closed, but you disagree with what they disclosed on the SPUDs, you can wiggle out of that contract then also. Also with the insurance report that comes, the loss claims history report, we have to provide that as a seller, right? It's part of the disclosure. That comes back unsatisfactory, same thing. Also with the HOA. So those are kind of like some little parts of the contract that are often missed or overlooked. But those are other opportunities that you could say, hey, you know what? This is not the house for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
it's important. It has happened. And it's really important that buyers understand all of these little nuances.
Yeah, buyers and sellers too. Because as a seller, like you want to know that, hey, if I drag my feet or I, decide to go on vacation and I don't get the seller disclosure statement out in the amount of time, like it's supposed to be within a certain amount of days from contract acceptance. If that's outside of your inspection window, you just opened it back up again, basically.
Right. 100%.
So super important, guys. Make sure that you are just intimately aware of all of the lines, every single line in that purchase contract. And if not, then consult with your hopefully highly experienced real estate agent. I heard this quote this morning and it totally blew my mind, but 68% of the agents out there have only done 1 or 2 transactions.
68%?
Yeah, like I'm real sorry, but I don't want somebody, like I love anybody who wants to, get into this business. I think it's a great business, but I'm really sorry. I don't want somebody that's only done it once or twice working on my big, huge asset, probably the biggest thing I'll ever purchase in my entire life. Like, I'm real sorry.
Well, and you always say too, Katie, a team is so much stronger than an individual. And
we'll always outperform.
We'll always outperform, just the knowledge and the experience to be able to guide, because this is it can be an amazing, but it can also be a little bit stressful too. And, knowing the steps along the way is absolutely critical to the success to go from, contract to close.
Absolutely. Take it from her lips. She knows what she's talking about. All right, guys, this concludes the episode on buyer contingencies, or I shouldn't even call it buyer contingencies, safety nets. I don't know.
We'll talk safety
Contract
nets.
Contingencies, whatever.
Flexing our contingent muscles.
There we go. There we go. She's bringing it back to the title and all. Look at you go. Awesome. All right, guys, hop on over to our YouTube channel and check out this playlist, Real Estate Fitness. We also have a bunch of other playlists over there for you that I'm sure you could spend many, many nights being blissfully entertained and learning everything that there is to know about Arizona real estate. Our handle is at Team Evo AZ. That's our handle across all social. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well. And then if you are the listening type, like maybe you're in the car and you'd rather have the audio version, just search Arizona Real Estate Radio on your favorite podcast platform, and there we are. All right, Dana, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.